Successful rescue. Does anybody have any questions so far? So, as I was thinking about this class today, and we're going to talk about it in a couple minutes, but I'll bring it up now. This is before I joined the fire service, and it happened 25 years ago yesterday. And I don't like to look at my phone, but I'm going to read you the story. This happened in Livonia. I used to live in Livonia. I was 25 at the time. I was in college. Livonia Fire responded to a swiftwater rescue on a lake called Newburgh Lake. You were on that day. Okay, so I'm sorry if this is going to bring up a bad memory. Okay, so the article, and you can look it up, it says an underwater gate in a lake spillway, which is a tube, had become an apparent death trap to a construction company diver near Detroit. So this person worked for he was a diver trained in underwater construction work. So it says rescue teams spent more than 4 frantic hours struggling to free the diver while he was pinned Thursday by rushing water against the gate more than 20 feet below the surface of Newburgh Lake. It happened in 1997. It's 25 years ago. You guys aren't that old. But I gotta tell you, even for me, I wasn't even in the fire service, but I used to drive by there all the time, and I remember that day because I was annoyed that I couldn't get across the bridge there. But then when we quickly heard what was happening, that was a bad day. It was a frustrating day. Kev, he may or may not want to talk about that if you have questions about it. But that was reality for Livonia Fire, and you can think Livonia doesn't strike me as a place that's going to have a swiftwater rescue, but they did that. And what I want to impress on you each time that I come is take this seriously. I hope that you all want to be here. This is me standing to the side here and giving you a little lecture, a little preach right now. I'm going to stand on my soapbox. Take your training as real, because somebody's life is going to depend on it. I take that very seriously. So not only when I'm here teaching classes with you, but when I work shift, when the bell goes off, somebody needs our help. And it's up to us to be highly proficient in all of our job functions. Putting our turnout gear in a timely fashion. Making sure our Nomex is tucked under. Putting your SCBA on and knowing how it functions, right? Knowing where the tools are on the truck. These are important. People, your community, your coworkers, people's loved ones, they depend on you and me to be highly proficient in our job. Because you never know when this is going to happen. I guarantee you, the day that Cap went into work that day, he had no clue that that's the call that was going to happen that day. Livonia does not strike me as a place that would have swiftwater rescue. Now, and I'm going to apologize to you, because when I was here on Thursday and we were making our catch-all, remember, I said, and I'm going to tell you that I should not have said that. I said, in my time, I have never made this on a fire scene. But you should still train on it, because it's that one time that these types of really intense calls come that you're going to be required to draw in your training. So please, give it your all when you're here. Give Cap your all. He doesn't do this out of the graciousness of his heart, maybe. He wants you to be good firefighters. I want you to be good firefighters. I want you to be safe. I want you to be the next Cap that has had a good, successful, safe career, that has lots of stories, that has information to pass on to the next generation. You guys are the next generation of firefighters, whether you believe it or not. When I joined, I had no idea that I was going to be an officer. I just wanted to drive a truck and put fire out. But then they were like, no, you got to learn how to do all these other things. It's like, all right, that's what it takes. Because I believe that we have the best profession. Firefighting is hands down, I think, the most rewarding, best profession, most challenging profession out there. And the public still respects us. But they expect something in return, which is to know how to handle situations like this and be trained for it, be professional. So again, going back to the class lecture, you're talking as you're driving, you're getting orders on what is expected of you, what you're required to do, what tools to get. But then you may very quickly huddle up once you dismount the truck on the scene. All of you, it's all of your responsibilities, not just the incident commander, but all of you to use your eyes and ears and senses of smell to recognize potential hazards. So the incident commander, even though they're in charge, there's a lot going on in that person's world, especially when it relates to technical rescue like this. There's a lot of components that person has to manage. Additional trucks coming in, changing weather environments, changing condition of the patient themselves. Is there another component like car accident? Maybe you're on the freeway and you're solely focused on the car that has a victim in it that's rolled over and you're trying to use extrication equipment. But, again, being on the freeway, you have to make sure that additional traffic, if you have not closed that road down, isn't going to come and kill you or hit you. And that's happened. I'm not here to give you doom and gloom, but I'm telling you, when you're on these calls, you got to be highly sensitive to what's going on around you. Bad things happen to us, but that's the nature of what we do. But if we train for it, if we're up and we have that situational awareness, it's called situational awareness, to notice what's going on around you. It helps you. You'd be able to, that one box that says recognize, locate, and operate rescue tools and equipment. You gotta know where this stuff is on the truck. If I give you an order and you've been here for a couple of years, I expect you to know where the chainsaw is. I expect you to know where the extra rope is. I expect you to know the difference between life safety rope and utility rope. There's a lot of things that we have to study in our job, but you gotta study and you gotta train with it. Yeah. And then under that last circle right there, it says understand methods for mitigating hazards. What are some of the, what in plain language, what are our options to finish this or to fix this problem? There's maybe 2 or 3 different ways that we can approach this particular incident to resolve it. Can I just throw the rope to the person in the water and then grab it and we pull them out? Or do I actually have to have firefighters get in their Gumby suits and then go out there and rescue the person directly? But once you become a contributing member on the fire department, either through time or experience or specialized training, you can go back and you could, when it's appropriate and asked for, you can advise the chief, hey chief, I just came back from high angle rope rescue, we just practiced this, I really think that it would help you. And then that person, that is the commander, will make choices. And then it'll be up to you to execute that. So, this seems like it's redundant, but it's so important. We got to know what we're getting into. What is happening and how do we fix it? Gather other general information about the scene. You might have somebody on scene, like a maintenance person, or maybe a school teacher, or even a parent or guardian, that you can get more information. How many people are there on scene? Maybe we see 1 or 2 on the ground, but you can ask, hey, are there any extra people inside the building? If the building collapsed for whatever reason, there was a gas explosion, and it's at a daycare, it's pretty important to know if we got kids trapped inside. It's one thing to see the kids outside on the playground, but we gotta take into everything, all those additional factors into account. And then we're gonna communicate to each other. Hey, so-and-so just told me as I was doing my 360 on the back side of the house that there's 3 other people inside and they think they're in the basement. Okay, so that complicates matters, but that's good information to communicate, right? Hey, I was at the truck and I noticed that we got a lot of smoke coming off this side of the building. Or you're at a car accident and it's one thing to notice that you got to get the driver out. Well, what if you look in the car and there's car seats in the back and like kids' toys, but there's no kid in the car seat? It's a good question to ask, especially if the patient can talk to you. Were you in the car by yourself? Do you have children with you? Where are the children? I don't remember exactly what department it was. A couple years ago on US 23, there was a car accident with extrication, and the department went and made the successful extrication and transported the patient, and the patient survived. And then a couple days later, the patient said, "Hey, where's Billy?" Who's Billy? Billy was in the car with me. They went back 3 days later and found Billy in the field, in the bushes, dead. That was not good, right? But these are things that we should think about as we're on scene. If you're doing an ice water rescue, ask the person if they can talk to you. Were you by yourself? What were you doing out there? I was trying to get my dog. Okay, where's your dog? Oh, he's over there. Okay, we're good. We got you, we got your dog. I was out there with my buddy ice fishing and we were drunk and we fell through the ice. Where's your buddy? I don't know. Okay, now we gotta find your buddy, right? But as firefighters, you can help gather that information. And then you need to communicate that when appropriate to your incident commander. And I say when appropriate, here's the thing on scene. There's a chain of command, right? So for me, my direct supervisor is the captain, and then the captain's direct supervisor is the deputy chief, and then below me there's a sergeant, and below the sergeant is the firefighters. And so firefighters communicate to sergeants, sergeants communicate to lieutenants, lieutenants to captains, but sometimes, depending on what the chain of command, the incident command structure looks like on scene of these incidences, maybe it just requires you to go when the incident commander isn't talking on the radio. Hey chief, I just talked to the farmer and there's 10 cows in the barn that's on fire, right? It's important to know. So going down, it says assess what is likely to occur if no action is taken, and determine the priorities of actions to be taken. What's going to happen if we stand there and we do nothing? Is it just going to take care of itself, or is it going to get worse? You got to be able to guess, so we can determine a strategy. And then it says determine whether additional resources are needed. Do we have this? Are we dive rescue certified? Or do we need to call Livingston Dive Team to go out on the lake and get the guy that fell off his boat in the dark, only to swim to shore, and nobody knew it? That happened at Green Oak. And then the ultimate goal is to stabilize the situation, because we want to go home. So I talked about the perimeter. I'm going to give you a lovely picture. And I apologize about my drawing, but I think it's important as it relates to this. So for this example, we're going to use a building. Oh yeah, perspective. These are our doors. So this is true. This is true for every incident. I apologize, the marker's dying. We'll talk about it in a minute. Do we have any more markers? This might be. No, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so for our example, I'm going to use a house, but this could be a car accident, it could be a trench rescue, it could be a person up in a tree. We kind of break these down as firefighters. We break the scene down in zones. So closest to what's happening, whatever this is, it's the hot zone. You have to be trained and certified to go in this area. So you, as a cadet, with no fire 1 and 2 and not age 18, should not be up in here. You're not old enough and you're not trained. You don't have the specific training to handle what's happening in here. And then in this next zone, it's the warm zone. It's the middle zone. It's the zone where if there's a hazmat situation and the person works in a chemical factory and they opened up a bag of chemical and it poofed up on them and they've ingested it and it's on their clothing. Well, we need to bring them out safely by trained personnel, and we might decon them in this area right here. So your catch-all that you made, and you can drag it up in here, or additional tools that to support the activity closest to the incident. Maybe rope, maybe extra rigging bag with carabiners, maybe a chainsaw to do some cutting, a K-12 saw, whatever it takes to assist, and you'll be told what tools to bring up there. But the kind of the staging area, the intermediate area, is the warm zone. Still dangerous. You should still wear your full PPE. So and it depends on your department's policy, but I got to tell you, almost every department is going to tell you when you're in this warm zone, no matter what your level of certification is, at the bare minimum, you should have your turnout gear on, which includes, boots, pants, coat, glove, helmet, maybe even no vest. It depends on what's happening up here, close to the badness. And then down here is the cold zone. That's kind of where the trucks may be parked out on this perimeter right here. Your incident command center might be parked here. This is where firefighters, police officers, and EMS workers, maybe if you have to call in your Department of Public Works because you have to dig and they need a backhoe, maybe that's where these people kind of hang out and wait for orders. And then the public, news reporters, people that are gawkers, bystanders with cell phones, taking pictures to post on YouTube or whatever, they're back here. We talked about controlling the scene. So as firefighters are coming in here to do a primary search or a rescue, we don't want people who want to take a video run through here, come through this side door, and become a victim themselves. Because at some point we're going to go home, maybe not even knowing that that person is accessed our scene and they have been now become a victim themselves. So we want to set up this perimeter. You might ask, depending on how do you do that? Well, in your book it suggests caution tape. It's legit. We've done it. So if there's trees, if there's signposts around, and you have caution tape on your truck, go back. If the IC tells you to, get that caution tape and tie it here and then spool it off over here. Sometimes that's enough to deter the public. Sometimes you're going to be asked, hey, go make sure nobody crosses this line. And you're going to have to stand there in your turnout gear looking official, going, oh my God, I don't know what to do. But when somebody comes up, you're going to say, I'm sorry, sir, I'm sorry, ma'am. You can't go past this line, it's too dangerous. And that might be enough for them. And if they become unruly, you have a radio, you're going to be calling for a police officer to come and subdue them. It's happened. It happened to me. I can't let people get into my scene. And if it takes me having that person arrested, then that's what it takes, because I already have enough on my plate. I'm trying to fix this. I don't need your attitude, your BS. Go away. So this is kind of where the world of the general public dwells, outside. They can come up to this line, but even the general public should not come up into this zone unless the incident commander deems it appropriate, right? A family member, whatever. But again, ambulances are staged here. If we're doing a rescue, ambulance is probably backed up into this area. EMS crew is probably right here. Firefighters are doing their thing. They bring out the victim in here, they stabilize them, they put them on oxygen, and then they pass them off to EMS, and then they might have to go back inside. It's important that these zones are controlled. It protects you, right, as well. You're focused on fixing an incident. The last thing you want to do is have somebody upset from the public come and start whacking you. This is a crazy world that we live in. And again, you can go on the internet and you can find stories